this side has gauze piled up on it. Like, what made you think that I could sign with my left hand? But alright. Hey everybody, it's Chastity Elise and I am back today. It's more of a story time. Sorry about the lighting, there's not much I can do about that. I am not here to create a fake page or to create some kind of fake persona for YouTube. That is not me and I'm not doing it. So with that being said, I'm going to share, like, I've shared a lot of positive things, I've shared a lot of good things that have happened, but I've also shared some of the bad things that happened. Like, I'm human just like everybody else is, so none of us have perfect lives. And what irks me is that there are some people out there, which, I mean, everybody's entitled to do what they want to do, but you know, there are some people out there that literally all they show is the positive things, only the good things that happen. Like, and then you're looking at them and you're like, oh, I wish I was just like them, like their life is perfect, nothing ever goes wrong. That's not true. That's what people portray, that's what people put on, but that's fake. And so I'm not here to be fake at all. So that being said, first of all, what is going on? Like, it's 2021 and we might as well say like 2021 is almost like a continuation of 2020. Like, there's coronavirus that we have, like, we basically spent a whole year not really dealing with that, and so now we're playing catch up and trying to get that resolved. And then this past month, if you all have been watching the news, if you all are aware, which I'm sure many people, most people already know this, but you know, January we lost Cicely Tyson. So January we lost Cicely Tyson, and then now we've got this winter storm in Texas. What? And so, you know, we've experienced things on a national scale. Well, yeah, so we've experienced things on a national scale that are like slightly abnormal. And so now this is something that I've experienced on a very personal level, which is very abnormal. So this is a story time where I'm going to tell you all what happened. So if you follow me on Instagram, then you know, like, I posted a picture on my story where my arm was bandaged up. So let's just start with, it was Super Bowl Sunday. So I never actually got to finish the Super Bowl vlog. And so the last thing that I was fixing was brownies. So this was like after halftime, like this was during like third quarter. So I sat down and, you know, we ate and everything, so we had dinner, but I sat down and honestly I was kind of sleepy and I was dozing off, and I didn't really want to, because sometimes what I'll do, which you all know, like, I'm supposed to make dessert that night, and then I decide, well, you know what, I'm tired actually, I'll just put it off and I'll make it tomorrow. Well, in this case I was like, I was feeling that. I was like, well, I don't really feel like cooking it tonight, let me just cook it tomorrow. Like, I'm sleepy, I'm dozing off on the couch, everybody else is dozing off, like, just push it back to tomorrow. But I was like, well, no, you know, I've done this before, let me just go ahead and get it done tonight and I won't even have to worry about it tomorrow. So I went ahead in the kitchen, like, I'd already fixed the brownies, I mixed up everything, all that, and then I put it in the oven. And so now I'm just doing cleanup. So as I'm cleaning up, you all have seen this glass. So there's this it measures 2 cups, but it's like this very thick glass measuring cup. You all have seen it in several of the cooking videos that I've done here at my parents' house. It's one of their measuring cups that they've had for a while now, but it's a very thick glass. And so I was washing that, I dropped it, and so automatic reflex, anytime you drop something, one of your reactions is to try to catch it. So obviously it's glass, that's probably not the best thing to do, even if it's a reflex. not the best thing to try to catch glass, but I tried to catch it. And so in my efforts of trying to catch it, like, it happened like this. It happened very, very fast. It went very, very quickly. And so I dropped the glass and I tried to reach down to pick it up, and I don't recall, like, I don't know if it landed on the countertop or whatever it was, but either way, I tried to catch it. My wrist landed on the very top of the measuring glass, and the glass basically sliced part of my wrist. So there it is right there. So it's literally like, it's not really focusing, but that's literally like half of the front of my wrist here on the side. And it went pretty deep. And like, you know, I've been cut by things before in the kitchen while I'm cooking, whether it's like blades from the blender or something like that. Like, I've been cut before, but never to this extent. Like, I was leaning over the sink because I was washing the glass anyway, and like, blood was just, if you're queasy and you don't like graphic things, this is probably the part that you don't want to hear. So I was leaning over the sink already, and blood was just like gushing out of it. It wasn't spurting out, but it was like gobs of blood just gushing out into the sink. And then I'm like, I was in shock because like, I've seen blood, but I've never seen that much blood in person, especially coming from myself. You know, you get little nicks and cuts and stuff here and there, but you never just see blood just flowing out like that. So I was like, I'm bleeding. Like, that's all I said. I was in shock. I'm like, I'm bleeding. And of course, my parents like sitting on the couch and they're watching the game. So I said it twice. And then like the second time, my mom came into the kitchen and she saw like blood everywhere. And so she ended up grabbing a towel and we put pressure on it and lifted it up. But there was like, you know, blood in the sink. There was blood like all over like the middle of the floor. It honestly looked pretty bad, and I was scared. I was like, this is not the way that I'm trying to go. And all I could think about is like, you know, you see these shows on TV when people try to commit suicide, and one of the first things that a lot of them like to do, a lot of them like to cut, like to slit their wrist, and then they sit in the bathtub or something and they bleed out. And so that's what I was afraid of. Like, I know I only cut one wrist, but it was just like the blood was just flowing. So that's the tip for people, those that don't know. Something very important, if you are like bleeding from an extremity, and let's say it's kind of bad, and it's bleeding like it's more than just a paper cut or something like that, it's like a major cut and you're bleeding, first thing, apply pressure to the wound and then lift it above your heart. I've never been in a hospital other than going to visit somebody. I've never personally had to go there to seek treatment. So anyway, the ambulance comes, the fire truck comes, and the guys from the fire truck come and they kind of peek in the house and they see that there's a lot of blood on the floor. So they're like, okay, well, come with us. We're gonna go ahead and get you into an ambulance, which I've never been in an ambulance either. And so, you know, we've got the sirens and all these things coming through the neighborhood, and honestly, I'm already freaking out. And so now I'm freaking out even more, and you know, having to go into an ambulance, and that's like an experience I've never had. And so they're like, are you squeamish, anything like that? I'm like, no. So they're like, you know, we're gonna count to 3, take the towel off, and then we're gonna bandage it up and wrap it up for you. So they wrapped it up, they checked my blood pressure, all my vitals and stuff, everything looked good. They told me to take several deep breaths. At this point, I was honestly like panicking. My heart's like this right here. I'm like, this whole experience is crazy. And so, you know, eventually I got to a place where I calmed down. Like, I was panicking, and it's like, you know, when you're in those situations, you're thinking about all the possible outcomes. Like, oh, wow, you know, this could have ended up badly. This could have gone this way, that way, that kind of thing. And, you know, you're going through these experiences for the first time. And then, you know, with COVID, my parents, neither one of my parents could ride in the ambulance with me, so I'm literally having to take this ambulance ride by myself, and it's like completely new experience, and the whole situation is just crazy and unexpected. So I'm like, panicking because of that. But after a while, I'm like, okay, well, honestly, at this point, you know, I'm stabilized at least. So that's good. I'm stabilized. I'm in the care of health professionals at this point. And so, you know, everything seems to be going okay. So I'm like, my panicking is not going to fix this situation. It's not going to change my current predicament. And so I took several deep breaths, and, you know, I just had to think through this process. And I'm like, it's better, it's easier for me to be calm in this situation than anything else. So after a couple of minutes riding in the ambulance with them, I was fine, you know, and I felt normal. So then we get to the hospital, and they wheel me in, and then they get a room. They bring me into the room, and doctor takes the bandage off, and I see it. And like, so my initial occupation, like ever since I was a very little girl in elementary school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So like surgeries and, you know, seeing interiors, like seeing inside of things and stuff like that, it never bothered me. So I mean, I used to watch, depending on how old you are, you may remember on Animal Planet they had this show called Alameda East, where it's almost like the Incredible Dr. Pole now, where, you know, they bring the animals in and you get to see them doing actual surgery and cutting these animals open and doing surgeries. Maybe they're removing some foreign object from a dog's stomach, or, you know, anything like that. So I'm used to seeing stuff like that. I'm not squeamish about things like that. Of course, you know, it can be different when you see it on yourself versus seeing it on TV or like seeing it in person, because I also used to volunteer at a vet, so I've seen these things in person as well. Anyway, doctor took the bandage off, and like literally, this is crazy. So you could see like here, like in the middle of my wrist, I could see underneath. I don't know if it was maybe like a set of veins, like I don't know the exact terminology for it, but like it's like a thick, it was like, I guess like a thick anyway, so I could actually see, when he removed the bandage, I could actually see inside of my arm. Sorry, but I could honestly see inside of my arm, and I could see like my pulse. I could see my pulse underneath my skin. Like, that's how bad it was. So here's something that I thought was kind of silly. So, you know, they come around, they ask you about your insurance, different things. So there was a person came by, she checked and asked me about my insurance. And after I got my insurance information and all that, because honestly, when I left here, the only thing I had was my phone. And the only reason I had my phone is because I think one of the individuals in the ambulance asked, they're like, does she have her phone so she can call you when, you know, when she's ready and or able to come home. So my mom came back, grabbed my phone, but I didn't have my purse, so I didn't have like ID or my insurance card. So I didn't have my ID or insurance card with me. So I had to actually dial my mom up and ask her for my insurance information. Then I had to sign to basically say, like, if my insurance doesn't cover X amount, I'm gonna pay the remainder. So just kind of signing to saying I understand that. So she's looking, because I had the blood pressure monitor was attached to this, which literally it's just a clamp. I could take the clamp off. And then on this side, the doctor put gauze because he didn't want me to see my arm, which, you know, I mean, he obviously didn't know anything about me, and so he thought that I was like squeamish or whatever. But I told him, I was like, wow, that looks really bad. So he just piled gauze on it so I couldn't look at it. And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I don't mind looking at it. I was just saying it looks bad. So she's looking and she's like, well, do you want to sign with this hand pointing at my left hand? And I'm like, well, this is the hand that's injured. I can't really sign anything with it. And besides, I'm right-handed anyway. So I'm like, I can take this off and I can just sign with my right hand. So that's what we did. But I honestly thought that was kind of funny, because I'm like, this side has gauze piled up on it. Like, what made you think that I could sign with my left hand? But anyway, I just thought that was kind of silly and didn't really make sense. Oh, goofy. But so that was that. And then that's one of the things that I feel like I was very fortunate with, is that because I'm right hand dominant, you know, me not having, or me not being able to use my left hand as much is perfectly fine. Now if it had gone the opposite way and it was this hand, like honestly, I'm handicapped at that point. But anyway, back to the story. So doctor looks at my injuries and everything. They do x-ray just to make sure there's no glass in the wound. There's no glass in it. It's good news. So there was no glass at all in my wound. So the doctor came, he cleaned it out. He told me that it's possible that I cut my ulnar artery. I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up. You have two arteries. I think it's the radial artery, which would run through like your thumb and all that, this side of your hand. And then you've got your ulnar artery, which runs through this side. One of the main functions of that is like your arm strength, your finger strength, that kind of thing. And so one of the tests that he did on me was like have me to hold my hand out like this, and then he would squeeze my hand to see how strong my fingers, or to see how strong my hand was. So he did it with this hand first, and this one literally just buckled under slight pressure. So it was constantly doing like this anytime he pressed on the fingers. So he tried this hand. He's like, well, hold your right hand out. And he checked my right hand, and my right hand, he's like, okay, you know, you're good there. So he's like, well, let me try your left hand again. So he did my left hand again, same thing. It just kept collapsing. And so he's like, well, you might need to get that checked out by a orthopedic surgeon, and he referred me out to somebody. So he was gonna go ahead and suture everything up, and then the following day I was supposed to go to this orthopedic surgeon. And he was like, you know, if you go here tomorrow, they may want to open it up and look at it. So anyway, he did injections, like he did local anesthesia to just kind of numb the area before he did the stitches. And so what he ended up doing was he just kind of did injections all around the site, and he said that it would have a slight burn and then it would feel like a bee sting. So he went through several times doing injections, and honestly it was pretty bad. But I'm like, well, if I can get tattoos, then I should, you know, I should be a G and I should be able to handle it. But by the time he got to the very last injection, like he did more than 3 or 4, like he did several of them. And by the time he got to the last one, I honestly had a tear rolling down the side of my face. I wasn't crying, but I just had like a one tear, lonely teardrop come from my eye, because honestly, like, it hurt pretty bad. But he was pretty thorough with it. Like he would do it, like he would do the injection and then he'd say, you know, sting and then burn. So I would know like what's going on, just so he's like keeping me abreast so I can kind of brace myself for what's coming. So after he did that, he went ahead and sewed everything up. And then he was like, you know, after 10 days, you can get these taken out. So that's pretty much the space that I've been in so far. So the first couple of days, well, the first day, I had the bandage on, and it was like my hand was extremely swollen. But I kept the bandage on for the first day. And of course, this happened like after 11 o'clock, like between like 11 and 12 o'clock. So, and then this was Sunday night, so I didn't get home till almost 11:45, like 12 a.m., whatever the case was. And so I had to I text my manager, because obviously it's like super late and I wouldn't be able to work the next day. So I had my doctor's note, which he told me not to do anything for like the next 3 days. He said if I needed more than that, then I would have to go to like my family doctor and get a note, maybe do like family medical leave. But I'm like, well, I have at least 2 weeks of paid leave that I can take if I need it. And so, and my boss is like pretty flexible. That's one of the good things about my job, is that he is pretty flexible and he is very understanding. You know, sometimes you can get those bosses that are just kind of like, we don't care what happened, like you need to be here regardless of what's going on. So anyway, I texted him that night and then I sent him a copy of the letter that the doctor gave me. And so I took off Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then I went back Thursday. But for the first couple days, or at least for the first day, I had my arm wrapped. And then the following day, I took, which would have been not Monday, but I think it was Tuesday. So Tuesday, I ended up taking the bandage off of my arm. And then at that point, like my hand was like extremely swollen. So I started icing, putting ice on my hand. And honestly, it took a couple of days for the swelling to go down. And so where I'm at now, I've been just kind of rinsing the area. So what the doctor told me to do was like, pretty much like if you go in the shower, the easiest way to wash it, just to avoid rubbing the stitches, is just kind of let the soap and water run over it, and then just take a towel and then blot and then put Neosporin on it. So that's what I've been doing. And other than that, I've been alternating and doing like ice like 15 to 20 minutes. And so it took a couple days for the swelling to go down. And so this area, like it's literally like half of my hand. So my thumb, my index, my middle finger are good. Like after a couple of days of putting ice on them, they're fine. But my ring finger is still slightly swollen, and my pinky has not gone down since last Monday. So it is currently Wednesday, so it's been at least a week and like 2 days now that my pinky and like this area of my hand is still very much swollen. So I've been putting ice on it, and then like for whatever reason, like the past couple days, my pinky's been feeling like it's been wanting to pop. Like it's felt that swollen that it feels like if you just prick my pinky, like it'll just. So something I decided to do was to get lavender oil and jojoba oil, because I read that lavender oil really helps with calming and relaxing, and also it helps with inflammation, which swelling is caused by inflammation. So I decided to get some lavender oil and jojoba oil from the vitamin shop. I mixed that up and I've been using that for like the past couple nights. So I ice for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then once that's done, I'll take the ice off and then I'll put a mixture on my hand. So I feel like that's helped a lot. And then also just being aware of what you eat. Like I was reading about different foods that make inflammation worse, which sugar is one of them. We just had Valentine's Day, so we have a lot of candy. And hey mom, we have a lot of candy and sugar here, and salt is another one that is bad for inflammation. So like you want to focus on eating, you know, your normal stuff like vegetables, salads, fruits, things like that. Those things, oatmeal. So I've been trying to kind of focus my diet in that direction, even though I've still been eating sugar. Sugar is one of my weaknesses, unfortunately. So I've been eating a lot of that. And as you all know, I got those golden crumbles. These babies right here, these are honestly like one of my favorite candies. Like my mom likes chocolate covered cherries, which she doesn't eat those all the time. She mostly just eats those for like Christmas and like the winter season. And so like these candies, they're like one of my favorites, but they're not ones that I eat every day. They're like, you know, I get a craving for them and then I'll order them. So anyway, I ordered 2 packs of those, and so I've been honestly eating on those. Those are really good. But yeah, so those things, they help with inflammation. So oatmeal, fruits, like salads, different things, those types of things, your typical foods that are classified as healthy. I've been eating a lot of that, and then also I've been drinking, like, y'all know I have tea. Like, I normally would do like the caramel apple spice tea. I like to drink that one, but I also have a honey lavender tea by Yogi as well. And so I've actually been drinking that, which honey is another thing that helps with inflammation. So that was another one of my focuses. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna drink this honey lavender tea, and then I add a little bit more honey to that. So that also helped. And then also it's got lavender in it, so lavender helps as well. So I've been trying to kind of tackle the inflammation and the swelling, because I'm trying to get it to go down as much as I can. But another thing, so I know this video is a little bit long, but since I didn't go to see the orthopedic surgeon that following day, I ended up checking. Like, you have to make sure that these specialists that you go to are in your network unless you want to pay full cost. So in my case, I have an HMO. Difference is, you have HMOs, you have PPOs. HMO, you have to have a primary care physician. That primary care physician will refer you out to a specialist, and then your healthcare will cover it. So being that I have an HMO, I have to get a referral from my primary care physician in order for the services to be covered. And then also, if the person's not network, you're going to be paying out-of-pocket costs. So I came home, I did a little bit of research. I looked up the person that he referred me to, which this guy is also an employee at that hospital. But what's crazy about it though, when I looked at the in-network providers for my insurance company, this specialist is not on it. They have everybody in the emergency room is listed as in-network. There are a couple of doctors in other areas at this hospital that are in-network, but for whatever reason, none of the orthopedic surgeons are listed as in-network. So if I'd gone to this guy, I would have been paying out of pocket for this visit. So, and basically all he wanted this specialist to check to see was if I nicked the ulnar artery, and then at that point consider what treatments, maybe therapy or possibly surgery. Hopefully not surgery, maybe hopefully just therapy. But anyway, what that would mean is that I would go to this orthopedic surgeon, and then if he decided I needed therapy and he ordered therapy for me, I'm already paying for this visit out of pocket. So any surgery, any therapy that he made reference to, they're not going to pay for it because he's out of network, and I'm getting another referral from an out of network provider at this point. So they're not going to cover his visit, and they're not going to cover anything that he orders me to do from this visit. So that's important to check. You might not want to go to them right away. You might want to check to make sure this person's in network. So anyway, I have set up an appointment, which I don't have, and I should have had a primary care physician, but I don't have a primary care physician right now, but I've called to get one. I don't get to meet with her until March 4th. That is her first opening. But what I'm going to try to do, because I feel like that's a long time to go without being able to really do anything with this part of my hand, and I want to get it checked out and make sure everything is okay. So I've got to get the stitches out anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, and I can go anywhere to get the stitches out. They said I can go back to them to get the stitches out, or I can just decide to go to like Doctor's Care or something like that. So I'm going to go to Doctor's Care and get the stitches taken out, but I'm also going to talk to Doctor's Care about possibly referring me to a specialist, or seeing if they themselves can check to make sure everything is healing correctly and that there's not anything wrong or not anything else that I need to be doing in order to get back to full functionality. And that's it. Oh, and then the other thing, if you have a PPO, you can go to any doctor that you want. You don't necessarily have to pay for a referral. However, with PPOs, you're paying more for a monthly premium, and then you're also going to be paying more because you can go to any doctor that you want. Whereas with HMOs, they strictly focus on, for the most part, they strictly focus on in-network doctors. They want you to go to in-network people. Whereas PPOs, you can go to anyone, any specialist, anytime you want without a referral. And so that particular insurance costs a lot more. You don't have to have a primary care physician. It's not a requirement. You're not required to get a referral at all, so you can go anywhere. But other than that, this is where we are. You got anything you want to share?
About what? Your hair looks nice.
Thank you. Your hair look good today too. Go ahead now, Mom.
This is good. This is not really good. This is just about the best I can do right now. What
I was telling them about my arm.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're working on it. It's coming. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be healed. Decorate it and twist it and turn it any kind of way you want to. So give all the neighbors.
This is where the incident happened.
Yeah. Not with my cup there though.
Oh no, not with your cup.
Yeah. Firefighter sprayed something that made it easy to get up, so there's no evidence. Like if you had one of those, whatever kind of machine or something they use where you can see blood, even after it's cleaned up, they sprayed something so we could clean it up. They were thoughtful to do that. They offered that. So, but all the neighbors called to check, one after the other. So they were concerned. Hailed us down in the street. Double checking. Okay, so that's a good thing. People are concerned. It's a bad thing when you have an incident happen and no one's concerned. Oh, apple water got time yet?
Yes, ma'am. But yeah, so it's honestly pretty scary. And then here's another thing. So yeah, and bread.
This for Dad. I mean, I gotta fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
But she had some last night.
So another kind of funny anecdote. So when the doctor came in, and you know how they come in and they kind of make or try to make small talk with you. So he made a comment and said, "Oh, you have on fingernail polish," but really, like, with the whole scene, there was literally blood everywhere. Like there was blood on my shoes, which I had to wear my flip-flops because I couldn't change my shoes. There was blood on my pants. There was blood all over this shirt, which, speaking of, I wore this shirt on the night of the Super Bowl because it's got Tampa, Florida on it, and you know, Tampa Bay Buccaneers were playing that night, so I wore this shirt. It's from one of my best friends, Courtney, that I have known since preschool, but you all may know this, but just a heads up. But like, that's how I got this shirt clean and my pants clean. So if you put a little bit of peroxide in with your clothes, that helps to remove like blood stains and bodily fluids off of your clothes. So that's just a little tip for you all. Hydrogen peroxide, put a little bit of that in there with your laundry, and then, you know, put your normal detergent in there. I had blood all in my nails, like around the nail, like just settled in around my nails. There's blood all over my arm. It was bad. So the doctor was like, "Oh, you've got fingernail polish on." I'm like, "No." In the ambulance, they did kind of like try to clean me up a little bit. That's kind of it. That's where we are right now. So getting stitches out tomorrow, and then seeing if at Doctor's Care, seeing if they can kind of look at it, because honestly, like, looking at their website, I really didn't realize that they do so much there. Like, they look at wrist lacerations, like they do a lot of, from what I read, it seems like they do a lot of emergency room type services there, so you don't have to pay emergency room costs. Like, it said that the cost there is like 1/3 of what you would possibly pay in an emergency room. I will say, like, check this out. I can bend these fingers, but as far as like straightening them, I can't really do. So, and then also, I'll say this with the stitches right now, the stitches do feel a little bit tight now. Like at first they weren't, but they're starting to definitely feel a little bit tighter. So hopefully when those come out, I have a little bit more mobility. And I don't know, we gotta figure something out with these, because right now I can't straighten them or do anything like this or nothing. I can bend them, but I can't straighten them or put them together. So as a matter of fact, like y'all see this right here, like scissors, nah. So yeah, we gotta figure out what's going on with that. But anyway, that is the end of this video. I just wanted to like come on and do like a quick update as to what's going on. I know I haven't uploaded a lot lately or a lot recently. This is part of the reason why, like, with what's going on right now, I've just been kind of like laying in bed and just trying to ice my arm and ice my hand and just kind of relax and not do too much. And honestly, I feel like I probably in some instances have done more than what I should. And if you follow me on Instagram, I did post a picture on Valentine's Day where I did like a hashtag, the struggle is real. I say that because I've been trying to do everything one-handed. So you're talking about like putting on clothes, washing my face. Those aren't that difficult. Taking off clothes, opening up deodorant. Like, you know, deodorant has that lid. My deodorant has that lid on top that you have to slide off. If I can't use my hand, I'm having to like try to figure out innovative and different or new ways to open things with one hand versus using two. And in some cases, like as the days have gone by, I kind of find myself like trying to use this hand a little bit more as I'm doing things, and that's not necessarily good. So I've been trying to kind of ease off of it just because there is still some swelling going on with this hand. So I'm just trying to back off of, you know, getting too comfortable and trying to do things with both hands. So I'm like going back to fully one-handed thing. Like, and then today, like for example with my makeup, so I don't have my sponge, like my makeup sponge is here. So I have the little cotton balls, and then of course normally you all saw me in the get ready with me video, I'd squirt foundation on this hand and then I'd dab. But with this particular foundation, I don't have that much left in the bottom, so I'm literally having to like swirl the top around, lift it out, and then just kind of like wipe it on my face. And then I'm just kind of using my right hand to kind of dab it out, and then getting a cotton ball to kind of even it and smoothen it out a little bit. But yeah, so I'm just trying to make it work in the meantime. But for now, I won't be doing any cooking videos. My mom did help, which you all will see in an upcoming vlog. My mom actually cooked some of our she cooked our Valentine's Day dinner for us. And so I was the camera woman for that video. And so anyway, if she ain't cooking it, I ain't cooking it. So there ain't gonna be much of any cooking videos, I don't think, for the foreseeable future, you know, at least until things are straightened out. And I'm gonna be using plastic measuring cups going forward. I think that many of my friends would agree with me that, you know, that's probably the best bet. Just make the switch and use plastic measuring cups. Maybe that's a bit overkill or whatever, but because I mean, this hasn't happened before. Not that I want this to ever happen again, but yeah. So I mean, they have plastic measuring cups, so I mean, I could always just use those. But for now, no cooking videos, probably no unboxing videos either. If I do any, say, unboxing videos, it'll probably be more like the items are just laid out and then I just kind of lift it up for the camera for you all to see, and then just kind of reference where it's from, whatever the case is. But yeah, so that's kind of where I am right now, and just wanted to give you all that quick kind of update. And that's it. I will see you all for the next video, and I'll see y'all later.